This is called first episode syndrome. On the top of my head, the best example of the first episode syndrome, if this is what I assume to be, which is catfishing you, giving you the impression that this is going to be peak. All the budget and talent focused onto one specific episode to bait you in and think, wow, this is amazing. Ninja Kamui, the fights are so sick. Little did you know the CGI was gonna happen. Zom 100, wow, this is amazing. A meta commentary about the work culture in Japan, how much they are pretty much like put to slavery, to the point that a zombie apocalypse makes them feel like they're liberated, into production issues because of that said culture impacting the studio. Let's see what Mr. PointyBoi has to say about the first episode syndrome.
There is a lot of anime out there. So much, in fact, that even the most dedicated anime no-lifers won't be able to watch absolutely everything. And
yeah, I think that, I don't know on the top of my head how much anime there are, but there's like thousands, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not thousands, but at least like 1,000. There's so much fucking anime. And at the rate of how much anime just keeps coming out, the average person cannot just like watch all of it.
In this current age where there's like 100 shows coming out.
15,000? There it is. Holy shit. 15,500 anime. And I'm sure a lot of them are also a bunch of random, obscure, niche, you know, old series that no one even knows about. But like, dude, the amount of anime that's being pumped out in this current era where it's just all about like quantity rather than quality, it's definitely sucks for like, if you want like peak everything, then you're not gonna get it. But be realistic, that's impossible from the first place. At least you can relish in the fact that you're gonna have this endless amount of content that you'll be just consuming until your death.
Out every season, first episodes are as important as they've ever been. The first episode is the gateway to a series, and the first part of it you'll interact with. So in a world with limited time and an unwatchably large amount of anime, a lot of people will only give a show one episode to...
Exactly. People say the 3-episode rule, right? You should at least give it 3 episodes to see if the anime is worth watching, but most people don't have the patience nor the time to do it. Especially with this current new generation of kids growing up where the attention span is even more short. That first episode, that first hook, not even like the first episode, maybe even just like the first half of the first episode, maybe not even that, literally the beginning moment. If that scene does not captivate the audience, they may just drop it and move on. That's how important first impressions are. This isn't just like anime related to either, right? This is also like has to do with what? Job interviews. You meet someone, the first impression is so important. Going on dates, right? Going on making new relationships, any sort of interactions, the first impression is so important. USA banning TikTok? Are you trying to say that if USA actually bans TikTok, that the kids' attention span is not going to be just, you know, rotted? I don't think so. There's so much short form content. TikTok being banned has nothing to do, or even like TikTok existing, it definitely adds into it, but like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, you have a different reskin of TikTok short form content everywhere. It's not TikTok's fault.
Decide if they'll keep watching it. There's sometimes a bit of leeway given if you've heard that the series is great or starts out a bit slow or whatever. But on average, if the first episode didn't draw you in, then you won't keep watching.
Yep.
Sometimes the first episode will be something you're just not that interested in, so you drop the show. Sometimes it'll be pretty good, so you decide to watch the rest of the season.
And you got catfished.
And on rare occasions, you'll run into first episode syndrome.
On the top of my head, I remember solo leveling being quite a controversial topic in January, you know, about a year ago when season 1 launched. Episode 1, I believe, should have combined episode 1 and 2 together. Episode 1 was pretty much set up an introduction to this world, and a lot of people are complaining and upset that nothing happened, and they're not really wrong. All the payoff in the hook comes from episode 2. They should have done a back-to-back episode premiere. On the top of my head, another example of this that might have gone wrong. Well, Oshinoko is a different example where it kind of gives the people the impression that this is going to be like murder mystery revenge plot, which then turns into like slice of life idol stuff. Not that that theme wasn't present in episode 1, but sometimes like people have the wrong impression of something off of that first episode. Loner Life Isekai is a seasonal anime that just aired in fall 2024. The first episode is so fucking nothing burger. But then you watch episode 2 and it's just like, oh, I see what this is all about. Level 2 cheat. chilling in another world with my level 2 cheat powers or whatever, that isekai. First episode again, fucking generic trash ass. But turns out the real appeal comes from episode 2 onwards, right? There's so many different examples where the first episode simply just does not do justice. Then you have stuff like Frieren. Frieren will just drop 3 episodes in one. And I wonder if this new type of doing anime launches is to kind of like what is the idea of dropping many episodes in one? I think that by like if people are already bored by episode 1, then they'll just simply stop. They wouldn't check out the couple episodes afterward. But if you have an option of like, for example, if you don't do multiple episode release, then you honestly have no other options. Like the first episode was mid to you and you're like, fuck it, I'm not gonna continue. I'm not gonna wait another week for this. But at the very least, if you give them extra episodes in advance, even if that first episode didn't hit, they may still check out the next couple episodes just to see what it's all about.
So, what is first episode syndrome? Well, I genuinely thought this was a decently common term, and I could swear that I'd heard it used before on anime forums and in reviews and stuff, but when I tried to look it up before making this video...
What the fuck is this anime, bro? Is that his hand? Bro's hands are like living things, okay?
I couldn't find shit about it. I could not find a single other human being using this term. I don't know if I'm being Mandela'd here, or if there's been some coordinated international effort to eliminate all evidence of this string of words from the internet, but just in case I did actually invent the phrase, I would like to officially declare that I, PointyBoi, am founder and CEO of First Episode Syndrome Incorporated, and any future user of the term will henceforth...
That's crazy. Did you see that video? Look at the growth here. Bro just showed us his sub count. Where was it? Come on. Showed us for like a half a second. Where'd it fucking go?
Or if there's been some coordinated international effort to eliminate all evidence of this string of words from the internet. But just in case I did actually invent the phrase, I would like to officially declare that I, Pointy...
340 subs upon the time of upload a week ago. Bro now has 4 times the subs. You know why? Because this video fucking hit. A very wide appealing concept video. This is pretty good. Let's check out his channel actually. I really enjoy doing case studies like this. 11 videos published. Tries to start with, I think this is like FMA or Helsing, I think. Bunch of different broad anime topics. Yeah. This is very broad appealing. This is how you start out. You know, this is definitely how you launch a anime essay, like just like broad appealing topics like that. Makes you want to watch the other videos too, actually. Anime is better than manga now. Seasonal anime can be good sometimes. Like, I'm down to watch these for sure. And then this video obviously pops off. It's a good thumbnail. It's a very clickable video. It's a very interesting concept too. It's 59K for it. Immediately 4 times the sub count over a week. Now that's fucking gaming.
Boy. I'm founder and CEO of First Episode Syndrome Incorporated, and any future user of the term will henceforth owe royalties, which you can pay directly by subscribing to the channel. Okay. But anyway, First Episode Syndrome is when an anime has an incredible first episode that feels like it's setting up an amazing series that will be remembered for years and hailed as a masterpiece of the era. But then the show just never hits those heights again. Usually the show still ends up being decent or even good, but it just doesn't live up to the quality of that first episode. Yeah. And I'm not talking about your run-of-the-mill anime that starts to drop off in quality as time goes on, or a first episode that showed some interesting ideas and seems like it had potential, but then just kind of fizzled out. I mean specifically, the first episode being a standout banger, and the series declining directly from there. This is a pretty uncommon situation.
Ninja Kamui is probably the perfect example. Right? Ninja Kamui episode 1 had people fucking going crazy. And then you can see the drastic drop in quality. It's not even just like a slow taper down. It's just a fucking jump off the cliff. Targa Season 2? I don't think Targa Season 2 is really first episode syndrome, because even from episode 1, there was it kept a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people were there in anticipation of what the second season would be. A lot of people were already disappointed. Episode 1 was decent. I think the substance of the material being covered in that arc of, you know, Bomb coming back as Viol and crazy new powers being shown, while the animation is pretty lackluster, I think a lot of people still had hope. And then, yeah. And then the rest of it, you know what happened. We don't talk about it.
And I honestly could only think of a few anime that this even applies to, which probably gives further credence to the idea that this is not a real term, and I just imagined that I heard it in a Scamboli video or something.
First episode syndrome? I mean, I've never really heard like a dictionary definition, but it's just like a phrase, right? It's all about different people having different semantics for the terminology they use. My again, I gave you my like definition of first episode syndrome. What is it? It is something so good that it catfishes you, and then what you see afterwards is not even close to what you remember from episode 1.
Zom 100 is an anime from last year that has one of the best first episodes you will ever see.
Yeah?
You know, one of my favorite animes, Welcome to the NHK. But before I watched it, I for some reason thought the story was about a bunch of salarymen working at the NHK that kinda started to lose their minds from being overworked and then just snapped under the pressure. It turns out the Zom 100 is the story that I thought NHK was gonna be. The start of that episode is a grueling depiction of what it's like to work in a job you absolutely despise. The mentally draining tedium from doing the same things over and over. The middle managers that will expect impossible deadlines from you. And even in your free time, all you're able to feel is the dread of having to go back into work the next day.
Yeah, welcome to corporate slavery. And you know what the most fucked up thing about this is? The really fucked up thing about this is the fact that even this is like a privileged problem to have. That so many people are like, what's the word? So many people are so desperate to have like a livelihood. So many people wish that they could be in this position. You know what I mean? Like having a job like this, it sucks. I've been there. Not to this degree of like toxicity in work-life balance. I've had a pretty good job regarding that. But the thing is, you make decent money and it's enough to keep you coming back. It's what I call not necessarily golden handcuffs. I call it like the bronze handcuffs. Golden handcuffs is when the money is so fucking good that you just keep doing the shit you hate. Sometimes the money is all right. And it's like you're making enough to have an apartment, to rent out, to be able to, kind of do your thing alone. But so many people are in positions where they can't even climb up the social mobility. Some of them are like just stuck at the bottom of the ladder and has no potential to grow their education, their social network. They're stuck working, minimum wage jobs. There's nothing wrong with minimum wage jobs to be shamed about it. But usually if you want to, have a better living, you need to, improve yourself to grow. But if you get stuck in this cycle where you don't have time and all you're doing is spending time working these jobs that pay nothing, you would wish to be in a position like this. And that's the fucking morbid thing. Something like this, even though it's so depressing, that like this is still like a very privileged position to be had.
Anyone that's worked a soul-crushing job for shit pay can relate to how Akira feels when he's hoping a fucking comet will come take him out so he doesn't have to go into work the next day.
Yeah, again, like a zombie apocalypse was such a relief to him. That a zombie apocalypse and the downfall of society was what he was looking forward to, because his life, and that's a unique thing too. If you look at the color schemes of this episode, when the zombie apocalypse isn't happening, everything is pretty much like black and white. Well, not necessarily black and white, but it's like, I remember when the zombie apocalypse started happening, all the colors started to come in. Before it felt like they were already zombies, They're just like all, like these dudes, they're all just zombies. There's like a one scene where they all get up like this. They're like out drinking and stuff and having like a dinner with the team. And it's just like, all right, it's time to do unpaid overtime. And they all get up like zombies. It was such a good way of just kind of portraying like the kind of life that he lives.
Can relate to how Akira feels when he's hoping a fucking comet will come take him out so he doesn't have to go into work the next day. But through this depressing view of being exploited by a black company, we get one of the most magical sequences you will ever see in anime. As Akira is getting ready to face another day in the 7th circle of hell, he discovers that the city's been infested with zombies. Instead of panicking or freaking out about the end of the world, the dude realizes he doesn't need to go into work anymore.
Yep.
And in one of the greatest scenes in all of anime—
Right here, right? The colors all come in, because up until here, everything is like black and white and gray and things that look shitty. and then the zombie apocalypse hits, and then it's just like now life is back.
Dude realizes he doesn't need to go into work anymore, and in one of the greatest scenes in all of anime, color returns to the previously grayed out world of Akira as he runs through the city celebrating his freedom. Seriously.
Yeah, the ratio of the screen, it was like widescreen before, and then it turns like all different.
Seriously. Throw this scene against any other amazing moment in anime. This scene stands tall with all of them. And
does it though? Does it though? I don't think people even know this scene. Like, I think this is unreal. Like, are you comparing the fucking reveal of who the real Titans are? Well, like, this is like a generational iconic moment that people will remember. This is a seasonal anime that most people don't even know it fucking exists. Like, I'm not denying, like, this is an amazing scene. It was very, very impressive. But I don't think this even holds a fucking candle to very iconic moments like Luffy activating Gear 2, Goku going Super Saiyan, you know? Like Bankai moments of these battle shonens. I don't think Zom 100 has that massive wide appeal. But this scene definitely was amazing.
What is such an overall superb first episode. Unfortunately, Zom never managed to reach the heights of that first episode ever again. And while I did enjoy the rest of the season, and would still recommend it to anybody looking for a fun show to watch, Zom 100 will always be an anime that peaked in its first episode.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of the anime of the next couple episodes, it just can't match it, right? Why? Well, I think they obviously put the best of the best talent and resources into the first episode to give you the best hook possible. Then the next couple episodes, they're not bad by any means, but the bar that was raised in episode 1, it's just really hard to meet. And then you combine it with like scheduling issues, production staff issues, whatever that was happening that kept causing delays. A lot of people forget about this show and they just move on. That's what happened with me.
And pretty much exemplifies the idea of first episode syndrome. Next, I want to talk about Oshinoko.
Oh. Did Oshinoko suffer the same thing? The thing that I see about Oshinoko and the people that hate on it mostly comes from people that don't care about the idol aspect of it. But I don't know what they expected if you looked at episode 1. Everything was in the idol industry and the culture surrounding it. The characters are all deeply in the industry, and it talks about the, you know, the behind the scenes, the more dark, you know, aspect of idol culture. Of course, there was a crazy, you know, revenge plot with the murder mystery, and a lot of people are looking forward to that theme. But then they realized in season 1 that most of it was just, you know, what's the farming pattern, the daily farming endgame loop of Oshinoko. Aqua gets a new gig. We basically then just, you know, work there and do acting and drama and blah, blah, blah. And at the very end, he'll go out for dinner with like the producers, the execs, and they'll give us a little bit of a clue of what the next, you know, person will be that has more leads into who is our dad and, you know, stuff like that, right? So like, yeah, I think a lot of people are definitely upset that it's just like, bro, I wanted murder mystery all the time, but you gave me like 90% idol stuff, then 10% murder mystery, then people are upset. So that mismatch, I understand why people are frustrated. Now, I don't think that Oshinoko peaked in episode 1 though. I genuinely don't. Episode 1 set the bar very high, but there was a lot of moments, great moments in season 1 and season 2 that I think just kept me coming back. Season 2 especially, bro. The shonenification of the 2.5D act, bro. The Aqua scene, like everyone had their moment. Aqua, Kana, fucking, you know, what's her name? Akane. What else? Melt, right? All of that shit was peak. And then afterwards too, right? Then we get the whole like crazy murder mystery plots going on with Himekawa being like a half brother and him giving up, and then Ruby finding out some extra shit and activating her Dark Star and gun. Like, there's a lot of fucking peak moments in season 2, but it just might not be the right fit for the people that had the wrong assumption of what this show is gonna be based off of the first episode.
Now, before I get booed off the stage, I would like to clarify that I am not one of the people that believes this. But a pretty common opinion after the first season was that the story went downhill after that amazing 1.5 hour.
No, the story did not go downhill. people just had the wrong idea of what kind of story it would be. The story did not go downhill.
First episode. Again, I do not agree with this. In fact, I believe Oshi no Ko has hit even higher peaks since the prologue.
Yeah, good
But
take,
there's
good take.
definitely a subsection of anime fans that were disappointed that this story about the dark side of the entertainment industry was going to so heavily feature the entertainment industry. I guess I can't rag on these people too much. When I watched the first episode of Freerun, I was certain that it was going to be a case of first episode syndrome. I really loved that first episode. I loved the originality of beginning the story after the classic hero's journey. I loved the themes of the passage of time and what time can mean to different people. And I loved the general atmosphere and melancholic tone of the anime. I was also convinced that the unique premise of the story couldn't be sustained for very long, and it would eventually run out of steam and just turn into a generic fantasy story.
Nah. Because, like, I don't know. It's just the way that Freedom was able to keep peaking, it's amazing. Why? I honestly don't know how to put into words. First episode, by all means, wasn't that peak to me. To be very honest, first episodes of Freedom, I was like, chill slice of life. Facing existential crisis of people dying as you get older, but you just keep staying the same, and the passage of time for you is different, and everyone, you know, dying off and you feeling bad about it. Therefore, you now want to cherish the limited time that you have with your companions. Okay. But like, first episode wasn't a crazy hook. I was like, okay. You know what was the hook for me? When Stark showed up with the dragon episode, that was like, oh, fuck. This anime can get this hype on. And obviously, to me, I have a bias for what I find a hook, right? I want something so exciting, something that gets my heartbeat going, right? Doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be battle scenes, but that kind of scene with Stark and the dragon stuff, that was amazing. And then it went to the demon arc, and oh my god, the soundtrack's playing with, you know, the demons, you know, being introduced and how much of a fucking literal demons they are. Oh, that was so good. And then there was like slice of life elements here and there. We're just kind of chilling and enjoying the scenery and stuff like that. It makes you really appreciate the setting and the characters. And then, you know, part 2 is just a fucking crazy ass, like it's like a battle royale style, right? It was amazing. So like, first episode for me was like meh. I'm sorry, man. First episode to me was literally meh. I watched it and I saw the production value was fucking tight. Everything was crisp. It's beautiful. But the substance of the story was like, okay, it's like a very real take on appreciating the limited things that you have, but it wasn't anything so shocking like Oshinoko episode 1 or even like Zom 100.
I was very wrong about Freerun, and I'm happy to admit that, because I do think it's a very interesting and special story. While you could maybe argue that it did just become a regular fantasy anime, the overall themes and vibes are still at the forefront of the story. There is still that philosophy of what happens to somebody after they achieve their goals. They slowly add information and context to the actual journey, instead of just dropping everything on us at once. And the passage of time is still a major theme. Even the tiny detail of how time is recorded by years since Himmel's death just adds so much to the anime and solidifies what the story is really about. I think Freerun is a masterpiece, and I'm truly happy that I was completely wrong when I thought it was going to suffer from first episode syndrome. As a side note, when the Oshi no Ko anime was about to start, I was up to date with the manga and was thinking about making a video called Oshi no Ko Isn't What You Think It Is.
Yeah, and that would have been a perfect title because a lot of people felt that way.
Or something like that. But I decided against it
Why?
because I didn't want to give any major spoilers. Then after it aired, I saw so many videos that were spoiling the shit out of it in the
Yeah, welcome to YouTube. You want the views? You want the, you know, the stardom? You gotta fucking do what it takes, man. You worried about spoiling people on the land of YouTube content for anime shit? You can't afford to be like that. Everyone else will hedge ahead in order to pump out their videos to clickbait the shit out of people when something is trending. So like, you know, you gotta get on board.
Fucking thumbnail, and I was like, fuck me. It should have been me,
Yeah.
not him.
That's what you get for trying to be a good person in social media.
Not like I'm delusional and think that video would have blown up and I'd be getting invited
No, I bet it would have blown up, bro. Oshinoko season 1 episode 1 was such a fucking trending moment. It was making waves, man. That was the moment to do it. He coping right now.
To the Trash Taste podcast right now if I had made it, but I was still a little.
A lot of people really want to make it onto this podcast, huh? I shouldn't shit talk them because I literally farm, the Trash Taste clips, but like, this is like the pedestal for like anime tubers. There was even the other guy that we watched too, remember? I forgot who he was. No, last night we watched a video about the anime man and his take on Bocchi, right? We have Muxedo Task or some shit. Excuse me. Anyways, seems to be a very coveted position. I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna keep farming their clips.
Now if I had made it, but I was still a little salty about it after seeing all of those Oshinoko videos do so well. A theme I've noticed with all of these first episodes is that they could all be standalone films.
What the fuck is this guy anyways? I just started to hear near soundtrack and I'm like, peak. This guy's no good music.
A theme I've noticed with all of these first episodes is that they could all be standalone films and they would still be considered great. I think this idea definitely applies to the first episode of To Your Eternity. This episode
haven't seen the anime, but let's see it.
Really hits all of the story beats you need for a complete narrative. There's an initial premise and mystery that is rather unique. There's characters that are easy to get attached to. There's a goal, a challenge, and a conclusion. To Your Eternity hits the ground running, with a first episode that can stand on its own and provide a very solid and emotional experience for the viewer. The thing is, after that conclusion, there is an entire bonus anime series. I don't want to go too hard on this anime, because truthfully, I only watched a few more episodes after that first one, but the drop in quality was so severe that it was such a massive.
Yamada, level 99. Why is Yamada being, so this isn't Yamada, but I watched this anime. This is like a pretty decent slice of life anime. It's rom-com anime. What happened with this one?
Slog to keep watching, and it's
just random frames being used, right? I thought that it was getting stray bullets.
Couldn't be bothered finishing it. I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair to this one. Maybe it does pick up again later and become interesting. But I just really wasn't vibing with that diet Dororo style story.
I got no clue. It looks like To Your Eternity is getting a lot of bullets right now. I have no takes about this. Haven't seen Dororo or this.
It differed so drastically from the mood of that first episode. The last anime I want to talk about is Gakogurashi, School Live.
You know what? There's like what was on the top of my head? What is a beautiful example of the first episode syndrome recently? Let's get the. I'll think about it.
I've tried to be pretty vague about spoilers and stuff, so.
There it is, Nokotan! Here it is, Nokotan. I think Nokotan is not even first episode syndrome. I think Shikanoko Noko Noko Nokotan, my dear friend Nokotan, is a very interesting case study where it's not even first episode syndrome, it's the first trailer syndrome. It's literally like the most if you're gonna do first episode syndrome as the first episode was so phenomenal that it sets the bar so fucking high that nothing ever could match it again. I think Nokotan is perfect for that because it's not even the first episode. It's the marketing that happened from the openings and the trailers, right? The opening and the trailer giving the people, the audience, this viral marketing campaign really succeeded in terms of people memeing on it, the dance, the songs, everybody was going crazy with it. Why? Because it was like a cracked show that a lot of people are calling the next Nichijo, right? And I don't know if they were really intending on trying to be the next Nichijo, but because the expectations are so fucking high off of the viral marketing campaign, with the openings and the trailers, it created this this narrative that it must be just absolutely insane. And when first episode aired, it was pretty decent, but that was it. Then it flopped immediately. You know why? Again, I've made a couple videos about this, even done a whole fucking analysis on it. What the trailers and the opening promised and created this false level of expectation to the audience could never be delivered because after episode 1, it's just like, well, we're kind of out of heat. That we ran out of jokes. All the jokes that we put in was pretty much from episode 1 and another episode in the future. And then rather than focusing on what people wanted, and I still think that it could have not fallen off so hard if they prioritized the gag around Nokotan. Because then after the first couple episodes, around episode 3 or 4, they start immediately introducing a bunch of side roster characters from the student council and a bunch of other characters with with Koshtan, the blonde girl, as the focus. Her straight man gag of thinking that everything is exaggerated and ridiculous and always being the, the party pooper, honestly, I hate that fucking trope. If it's executed well, straight man gags can be done well, but that bitch is so annoying. And now you are giving people everything except what they wanted. Nokotan got benched. You're focusing on Koshtan's shitty running gag of being a straight man with a bunch of side characters no one cares about. The heat's gone. People left. GG.
But seriously, if you haven't seen the first episode of School Live, do yourself a favor and go watch it now, because I'm about to spoil the fuck out of one of the best episodes of anime you will ever watch.
What is this called? School Live? You think that we're gonna be able to ever watch this anime? Do you think that this could ever be made into a poll? I don't think I really need to watch this section, to be honest. You never know. Even so, I think I'm gonna skip this part. I mean, he's probably just gonna say the same shit about, first episode being so different and, stuff not being able to pick up. So I don't think that's that big of an issue. Yeah, I'll skip that part. I don't think there's gonna be that much, stuff that's gonna be unique to all the stuff that we've watched so far.
A term I may or may not have invented. With a to say about first episode syndrome. So, that's what I have to say about first episode syndrome. A term I may or may not have invented. There's some alternate universe out there where attack.
Let me Google this actually. First episode syndrome. I mean, I Google it. What do I see? When you know a show is good, but it takes a few attempts to watch the first episode because you want to be into it, but you aren't at it first. Now, a lot of people have a lot of different. What triggers first episode? Psychosis? What the fuck? Anyways, I don't really care. Let's keep going.
On Titan, after that incredibly engaging first episode hooked us in, just became generic shonen slop that ran for another 300 episodes without.
I kind of feel that way about MASH as well. You guys know MASH Muscles and Magic? It was very unique in the way that it handled the battle shonen themes with the absurdity comedy of MASH being so fucking strong with everyone else using magic. A lot of people were really into it when it first aired. And as it progressed, it definitely became another generic battle shonen. And then season 2 was like, the fights are hype, I guess, but like, I don't really care anymore. I think MASH is a perfect example of something being so unique and clever, which then just kind of falls off as the novelty wears off of, OP guy with muscles beating everything, Magic's doing. It's just, that gag just doesn't last. And here, that's the thing with novelty, bro. Gimmicks. I think that gimmicks and novelty, right? Being a one-trick pony, having something like a win condition, like, the gags of, fucking MASH using muscles, that shit gets boring real fast, and it can only end up being first episode syndrome. Now, why does that gag not really apply, or why does that really not happen to, let's say, One Punch Man, or even the Eminence in Shadow? Here's the thing. I think that One Punch Man, Eminence in Shadow, these are perfect examples to contrast it with MASH, because the whole gag is One Punch Man. Baldy's gonna show up, one-shot everything, and the day is saved. Same thing as Eminence in Shadow. Shadow will show up at the very end. He'll do some chuny cool-ass shit. Then he'll save everybody. The end. Those are gimmicks. These are one-trick pony gimmick concepts. Yet, it still does so well. You know why? Because it focuses on the diverse roster of side characters. Same thing with Eminence in Shadow. By focusing from the context of other characters, rather than the main character, who is like this OP god who shows up and does everything, you are now able to do storytelling from a different perspective where you won't think that this is pointless. You won't think that the threats are pointless because you are seeing from the perspective of these side characters who are deep written enough for you to actually give a fuck about them. And now, every arc, even in the back of the mind, you know that Baldy's gonna show up and save the day. It's still super hype because it plays around those godlike gimmick characters. I think that's why, gimmicks like One Punch Man keeps doing well despite it being a very Like by all means, it should be novelty that just gets so boring so quick.
Without anything actually happening. But we don't live in that world. And luckily,
exactly, MASH doesn't have memorable side characters. It's got the cream puff gag, and that's about it. Other characters, it really, they don't do them justice.
most anime that start out great do continue to be great. Occasionally we'll get catfished by a great first episode, but it's rare enough that it's at least interesting when it happens. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more weeks.
That was a great video. And I think we should subscribe, yeah. Shit, if this guy's a new YouTuber and he just, made a couple videos. No, he's been here since Oshinoko. This probably isn't his first project. Oshinoko aired like 2 fucking years ago, and he was already thinking about making videos back then. I don't know if he ever actually made those videos and he was thinking of becoming, an anime video essayist, but this is a pretty damn good video, and I agree. There's a lot of different animes. I hope that I was able to bring, some other examples and my perspective on why first episode syndrome, worked or didn't work for those animes, but that's pretty much it. It's always in the, the animators, the production committee's best interest to give the first episode that level of a hook in the first impression. And you get catfished, right? And you think that, wow, this is going to be so fucking amazing. And then you get let down as you realize, womp womp, you got catfished. It is what it is. It's all business. Here's a link to the video. Please go check out Mr. PointyBoi. Give him a like on the video. Sub to his channel if you haven't. I'll see you next time.